Okay, so what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name's Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. Today is March 28th, 2026, about 4:15 p.m. where I'm at right now. And we are continuing our 20th book in our Book to React series. This is episode 13 of Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Today we will be reading chapters 16 through 17. We had a very, very big and lively discussion in our previous episode that we did yesterday, and I'm glad so many people showed up and showed out. I appreciate all of you. We're going to be continuing the discussion around this monumental work of African American literature and fiction, right? So without further ado, let's jump into chapters 16 and 17. Picking up where we left off, our main character is now a part of the mysterious Brotherhood group. And now he is going to be a political activist and a spokesman for this group just because he gave one really good speech at this rally, impromptu. So at 7:30, Brother Jack and some of the others picked me up and we shot up to Harlem in a taxi. As before, no one spoke a word. There was only the sound made by a man in the corner who drew noisily on a pipe full of rum-flavored tobacco, causing it to glow on and off, a red disc in the dark. I rode with mounting nervousness. The taxi seemed unnaturally warm. We got out in a side street and went down a narrow alley in the dark to the rear of the huge barn-like building. Other members had already arrived. "Ah, here we are," Brother Jack said, leading the way through a dark rear door to a dressing room lighted by naked, low-hanging bulbs. A small room with wooden benches and a row of steel lockers with a network of names scratched on the doors. It had a football locker smell of ancient sweat, iodine, blood, and rubbing alcohol, and I felt a welling up of memories. "We remain here until the building fills," Brother Jack said. "Then we make our appearance, just at the height of their impatience." He gave me a grin. "Meanwhile, you think about what you'll say. Did you look over the material?" "All day," I said. "Good. I suggest, however, that you listen carefully to the rest of us. We'll all precede you so that you can get pointers for your remarks. You'll be last." I nodded, seeing him take two of the other men by the arm and retreat to a corner. I was alone. The others were studying their notes, talking. I went across the room to a torn photograph tacked to the faded wall. It was shot in fighting stance of a former prize fight champion, a popular fighter who had lost his sight in the ring. It must have been right here in this arena, I thought. That had been years ago. The photograph was that of a man so dark and battered that he might have been of any nationality. Big and loose-muscled, he looks like a good man. I remembered my father's story of how he had been beaten blind in a crooked fight, of the scandal that had been suppressed, and how the fighter had died in a home for the blind. Who would have thought I'd ever come here? How things were twisted around. I felt strangely sad and went and slouched on a bench. The others talked on, their voices low. I watched them with a sudden resentment. Why did I have to come last? What if they bored the audience to death before I came on? I'd probably be shouted down before I could get started. But perhaps not, I thought, jabbing my suspicions away. Perhaps I could make an effect through the sheer contrast between my approach and theirs. Maybe that was the strategy. Anyway, I had to trust them. I had to. Shout out to Caden Hankins. Shout out to Caden Hankins joining the live stream. I appreciate you. Shout out to also Rev9 H5D up in the chat as well, showing love. We have two live streams going simultaneously, so anybody that comes into the live stream, you will get a shout out, right? And you will have your comment read if it is related to our text or related to a topic in general that you think I might be interested in, as this is a channel that's focused on movie reviews, politics, books, history, revolution, leftist leanings, etc., etc. Anyway, Still a nervousness clung to me. I felt out of place. From beyond the door, I could hear a distant scrape of chairs, a murmur of voices. Little worries whirled up within me, that I might forget my new name, that I might be recognized from the audience. I bent forward, suddenly conscious of my legs in new blue trousers. But how do you know they're your legs? What's your name? I thought, making a sad joke with myself. It was absurd, but it relieved my nervousness, for it was as though I were looking at my own legs for the first time, independent objects that could, of their own volition, lead me to safety or danger. I stared at the dusty floor. Then it was as though I was returning after a long suspension of consciousness, as though I stood simultaneously at opposite ends of a tunnel. I seemed to view myself from the distance of the campus while yet sitting there on a bench in the old, while sitting there on the bench. Then it was as though I were returning after a long suspension of consciousness, as though I stood simultaneously at opposite ends of a tunnel. I seemed to view myself from the distance of the campus while yet sitting there on a bench in the old arena, dressed in a new blue suit, sitting across the room from a group of intense men who talked among themselves in hushed, edgy voices, while yet in the distance I could hear the clatter of chairs, more voices, a cough. I seemed aware of it all from a point deep within me. Yet there was a disturbing vagueness about what I saw, a disturbing uninformed quality, as when you see yourself in a photo exposed during adolescence, the expression empty, the grin without character, the ears too large, the pimples, courage bumps, too many and too well defined. This was a new phase, I realized, a new beginning, and I would have to take that part of myself that looked on with remote eyes and keep it always at the distance of the campus, the hospital machine, the battle royale, all now far behind. Perhaps the part of me that observed listlessly but saw all, missing nothing, was still the malicious arguing part, the dissenting voice, my grandfather part, the cynical, disbelieving part, the traitor self that always threatened internal discord. Whatever it was, I knew that I'd have to keep it pressed down. I had to, for if I were successful tonight, I'd be on the road to something big. No more flying apart at the seams. No more remembering forgotten pains. No, I thought, shifting my body. They're the same legs on which I've come so far from home, and yet they were somehow new. The new suit imparted a newness to me. It was the clothes and the new name and the circumstances. It was a newness too subtle to put into thought, but there it was. I was becoming someone else. Shout out to Amber Goss up in the chat. Shout out to Amber Goss, showing love and appreciation up in the chat as well, and everybody else joining the live stream. I really like that paragraph, though sometimes I don't like the long purple prose text. And I'm not saying that Ralph Ellison is not a talented writer, right? That he just writes in a verbose type of way. But what I'm getting from that paragraph is that our main character has realized that this is my opportunity. This is my chance. These white folks like me. They gave me money. I got my own apartment. I brought this brand new suit. They really believe in my abilities. It's just that I don't have my own identity. And all the negative things that I went through in my life that were related to my blackness, now I have to push that to the side and sort of disassociate myself. And so what I read in that paragraph, that he has to just, he has his eyes where he's looking, but he's not really feeling what he's looking at or observing. That's sort of like the dissociative process that you have to go through if you want to rise up in, in the corporate ladder or in your financial status, as at least as a black person in America, and I would argue in the world. You have to leave a part of yourself at the door, and you can't bring all of yourself into the room, right? That's why I see that right there. But I'm going to continue. I sensed vaguely and with a flash of panic that the moment I walked out upon the platform and opened my mouth, I'd be someone else, not just a nobody with a manufactured name, which might have belonged to anyone or to no one, but another personality. Few people knew me now, but after tonight, how was it? Perhaps simply to be known, to be looked upon by so many people, to be the focal point of so many concentrating eyes. Perhaps this was enough to make one different, enough to transform one into something else, someone else, just as by becoming an increasingly larger boy, one became one day a man with a deep voice, although my voice had been deep since I was 12. But what if someone from the campus wandered into the audience, or someone from Mary's, even Mary herself? No, it wouldn't change it. I heard myself say softly. That's all the past. My name was different. I was under orders. Even if I met Mary on the street, I'd have to pass her by unrecognized. A depressing thought. And I got up abruptly and went out of the dressing room and into the alley. All right. Shout out to Mr. Kitty. Shout out to Mr. Kitty up in the chat. Crazy name. But shout out to Mr. Kitty showing love and appreciation. Let's continue here. Without my overcoat, it was cold. A feeble light burned above the entrance, sparkling the snow. I crossed the alley to the dark side, stopping near a fence that smelled of carbolic acid, which, as I looked back across near a fence that smelled of Let's go back here. I crossed the alley to the dark side, stopping near a fence that smelled of carbolic acid, which, as I looked back across the alley, caused me to remember a great abandoned hole that had been the site of a sports arena that had burned before my birth. All that was left, a cliff drop of some 40 feet below the heat-buckled walk, was the shell of concrete with weirdly bent and rusted rods that had been its basement. The hole was used for dumping, and after a rain, it stank with stagnant water. And now in my mind, I stood upon the walk, looking out across the hole, past a Hooverville shanty of packing cases and bent tin signs, to a railroad yard that lay beyond. Dark, depthless water lay without motion in the hole, and past the Hooverville, a switch engine idled upon the shining rails. And as a plume of white steam curled slowly from its funnel, I saw a man come out of the shanty and start up the path which led to the walk above. Stooped in dark and sprouting rags from his shoes, hat and sleeves, he shuffled slowly toward me, bringing a threatening cloud of carbolic acid. It was a syphilitic who lived alone in the shanty between the hole and the railroad yard, coming up to the street only to beg money for food and disinfectant with which to soak his rags. Then in my mind, I saw him stretching out a hand from which the fingers had been eaten away, and I ran back to the dark and the cold and the present. Interesting. All right. Shout out to Mr. Kitty for showing love in the chat. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you for all the love. And we're going to be continuing right here. I shivered, looking toward the street, where up the alley, through the tunneling dark, I shivered, looking toward the street, where up the alley, through the tunneling dark, 3 mounted policemen loomed beneath the circular, snow-sparkling beam of the street lamp, grasping their horses by their bridles, the heads of both men and animals bent close, as though plotting, the leather of saddles and leggings shining. 3 white men and 3 black horses. Then a car passed, and they showed in full relief, their shadows flying like dreams across the sparkle of snow and darkness. And as I turned to leave, one of the horses violently tossed its head, and I saw the gauntleted fist yanked down. Then there was a wild neigh, and the horse plunged off in the dark. The crisp, frantic cackling of metal and the stomping of hooves followed me to the door. Perhaps this was something for Brother Jack to know. But inside, they were still in a huddle, and I went back and sat on the bench. I watched them, feeling very young and inexperienced, and yet strangely old, with an oldness that watched and waited quietly within me. All right. Shout out to Blaha 985. Shout out Blaha 985. All right. And shout out to Mr. Kitty for saying he's listening to the text, because what we're here to do is encourage people to read, to encourage people to enjoy wonderful literature. If you haven't caught up on the book, I suggest, honestly, you stop this episode, you stop watching here, and go back to the previous episodes so you follow along with the story. But I digress. Let's continue. So, I watched them feeling very young and inexperienced, and yet strangely old, with an oldness that watched and waited quietly within me. Outside, the audience had begun to drone, a distant churning sound that brought back some of the terror of the eviction. My mind flowed. There was a child standing in rompers outside a chicken wire fence, looking in upon a huge black and white dog, log chained to an apple tree. It was Master, the bulldog, and I was the child who was afraid to touch him. Although, panting with heat, he seemed to grin back at me like a fat, good-natured man, the saliva roping silvery from his jowls. And as the voices of the crowd churned and mounted and became an impatient splatter of hand claps, I thought of Master's low, hoarse growl. He had barked the same note when angry or when being brought his dinner, when lazily snapping flies, or when tearing an intruder to shreds. I liked but didn't trust old Master. I wanted to please, but did not trust the crowd. Then I looked at Brother Jack and grinned. That was it, and in some ways he was like a toy bull terrier. But now the roaring clapping of hands became a song, and I saw Brother Jack break off and bounce to the door. Okay, brothers, he said, that's our signal. Okay? So, shout out to Mr. Kitty. Once again, of course, I remember you. How could we not remember a man named Mr. Kitty? Of course. Anyway, we went in a bunch out of the dressing room and down a dim passage, a roar with a distant sound. Then it was brighter, and I could see a spotlight blazing the smoky haze. We moved silently. Brother Jack followed 2 very black Negroes and 2 white men who led the procession, and now the roar of the crowd seemed to rise above us, flaring louder. I noticed that others falling into columns of 4, and I was alone in the rear, like the pivot of a drilled team. Ahead, a slanting shaft of brightness marked the entrance to one of the levels of the arena, and now as we passed it, the crowd let out a roar. Then swiftly we were in the dark again, and climbing, the roar seeming to sink below us, and we were moved into a bright blue light and down a ramp, to each side of which, stretching away in a curve, I could see 2 rows of blurred faces. Then suddenly I was blinded and felt myself crash into the man ahead of me. It always happens the first time, he shouted, stopping to let me get my balance, his voice small in the roar. It's the spotlight. It had picked us up now and beaming just ahead, led us into the arena and encircled us full in its beam, the crowd thundering. The song burst forth like a rocket to the marching tempo of clapping hands. John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave. His soul is marching on. All right? So let's go here. Blaha 985 is saying like Emmett Till case. Okay. Quick Motive 7 asks where are you from? Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. Okay. So shout out to Mr. Kitty joining the live stream. Shout out to KC Lee Edwards joining the live stream too. Okay. And yeah, we need to acknowledge the wrongs of the past. Very good point. Blaha. Anyway. Continuing here. All right. Imagine that, I thought. They make the old songs sound anew. At first, I was as remote as though I stood in the highest balcony looking on. Then I walked flush into the vibrations of the voices and felt an electronic tingling along my spine. We marched toward a flag-draped platform set near the front of the arena, moving through an aisle left between rows of people in folding chairs, then onto the platform past a number of women who stood when we came on. With a nod, Brother Jack indicated our chairs, and we faced the applause standing. Okay? All right, below and above us was the audience, row after row of faces. The arena, a bowl-shaped aggregation of humanity. Then I saw the policemen and was disturbed. What if they recognized me? They were all along the wall. I touched the arm of the man ahead, seeing him turn, his mouth halting in a verse of the song. Okay. Why all the police, I said, leaning forward on the back of his chair. Cops, don't worry. Tonight they're ordered to protect us. This meeting is of great political consequence, he said, turning away. Who ordered them to protect us, I thought. But now the song was ending and the building rang with applause, yells, until the chant burst from the rear and spread. No more dispossession, no more dispossessing of the dispossessed. No more dispossessing of the dispossessed. The audience seemed to have become one, its breathing and articulation synchronized. I looked at Brother Jack. He stood up front beside a microphone. his feet planted solidly on the dirty canvas-covered platform, looking from side to side, his posture dignified and benign, like a bemused father listening to the performance of his adoring child. I saw his hand go up like a salute, and the audience thundered, and I seemed to move in close, like the lens of a camera, focusing into the scene and feeling the heat and excitement and the pounding of voice and applause against my diaphragm, my eyes flying from face to face, swiftly, fleetingly, searching for someone I could recognize, for someone from the old life, and seeing the faces become vaguer and vaguer the further they receded from the platform. The speeches began. First, an invocation by a Negro preacher, then a woman spoke of what was happening to the children. Then came speeches on various aspects of the economic and political situation. I listened carefully, trying to snatch a phrase here, a word there, from the arsenal of hard, precise terms. It was becoming a high-keyed evening. Songs flared between speeches. Chants exploded as spontaneously as shouts at a Southern revival. And I was somehow attuned to it all, could feel it physically. Sitting with my feet on the soiled canvas, I felt as though I had wandered into the percussion section of a symphony orchestra. It worked on me so thoroughly that I soon gave up trying to memorize phrases and simply allowed the excitement to carry me along. Someone pulled on my coat sleeve. My turn had come. I went toward the microphone where Brother Jack himself waited, entering the spotlight that surrounded me like a seamless cage of stainless steel. I halted. The light was so strong that I could no longer see the audience, the bowl of human faces. It was as though a semi-transparent curtain had dropped between us, but through which they could see me, for they were applauding, without themselves being seen. I felt the hard mechanical isolation of the hospital machine, and I didn't like it. I stood, barely hearing Brother Jack's introduction. Then he was through, and there was an encouraging burst of applause. And I thought, they remember some of them were there. The microphone was strange and unnerving. I approached it incorrectly. My voice sounding raspy and full of air, and after a few words, I halted, embarrassed. Shout out to James Wright, 2140. Thank you. I mean, it's an old suit, but thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And hopefully you enjoy the top class African-American literature, because that's what we are reading right now. Continuing with Invisible Man, chapter 16. The microphone was strange and unnerving. I approached it incorrectly, my voice sounding raspy and full of air. And after a few words, I halted, embarrassed. I was getting off to a bad start. Something had to be done. I leaned toward the vague audience closest to the platform and said, "Sorry, folks, up to now, they've kept me so far away from these shiny electric gadgets, I haven't learned the technique. And to tell you the truth, it looks to me like it might bite. Just look at it. It looks like the steel skull of a man. Do you think he died of dispossession?" It worked. And while they laughed, someone came and made an adjustment. "Don't stand too close," he advised. "How's that?" I said, hearing my voice boom deeper and vibrant over the arena. "Is that better?" There was a ripple of applause. "You see, all I needed was a chance. You've granted it. Now it's up to me." Okay, so here's the speech time. Our main character is about to make a big speech in the stadium. Let's see what he has to say. The applause grew louder, and from down front, a man's far-carrying voice called out, "We with you, brother. You pitch 'em, we catch 'em." That was all I needed. I'd made a contact, and it was as though his voice was that of them all. I was wound up, nervous. I might have been anyone, might have been trying to speak in a foreign language, for I couldn't remember the correct words and phrases from the pamphlets. I had to fall back upon tradition, and since it was a political meeting, I selected one of the political techniques that I'd heard so often at home. The old down-to-earth, I'm sick and tired of the way they've been treating us approach. I couldn't see them, so I addressed the microphone and the cooperative voice before me. You know, there are those who think we who are gathered here are dumb, I shouted. Tell me if I'm right. That's a strike, brother, the voice called. You pitched a strike. Yes, they think we're dumb. They call us the common people. But I've been sitting here listening and looking and trying to understand what's so common about us. I think they're guilty of a gross misstatement of fact. We are the uncommon people. Another strike, the voice called in the thunder, and I paused, holding up my hand to halt the noise. Yes, we're the uncommon people, and I'll tell you why. They call us dumb and they treat us dumb, but what do they do with dumb ones? Think about it. Look around. They've got a slogan and a policy. They've got what Brother Jack would call a theory and a practice. It's never give a sucker an even break. It's dispossess him, evict him, use his empty head for a spittoon and his back for a doormat. It's break him, deprive him of his wages. It's use his protest as a sounding brass to frighten him into silence. It's beat his ideas and his hopes and homely aspirations into a timbling cymbal, a small cracked cymbal to tinkle on the 4th of July. Only muffle it. Don't let it sound too loud. Beat it in stop time. Give the dumb bunnies the soft shoe dance, the big wormy apple, the Chicago getaway, and the shoe fly don't bother me. All right. Shout out to James Wright. He says, R.I.P. Ralph Ellison. Absolutely. Rest in peace. I wish he wrote more works. I wish he wrote more books, but this is really his only book. There is another text he wrote, but unfortunately, it's just a collection of his writings, right? But anyway, and do you know what makes us so uncommon? I whispered hoarsely. We let them do it. The silence was profound. The smoke boiled in the spotlight. Another strike, I heard the voice call sadly. Ain't no use to protest the decision. And I thought, is he with me or against me? So the main character is given this speech, and he is not really, how can I say, accustomed to or indoctrinated enough with the ideology of the Brotherhood, which is another word for the communist in this book, right? He's given this big speech where he only studied like socialism or Marxism for like one day, and now he has to go up here and talk to the people to get them riled up, right? And he doesn't know what to say, so he just does like a rendition of the old Baptist preaching that he heard all his life in the church down south. And he's going up here, and this guy is yelling, that's a strike. That's a strike. And we know in baseball, 3 strikes, you're out. But is he saying that he's not hitting his mark, or he's like not doing it right? Because the crowd is not reacting. They're just listening to him. And he's just saying, people think we're dumb. So very interesting. I wonder what's going to happen here. So dispossession is the word, I went on. They've tried to dispossess us of our manhood and womanhood, of our childhood and adolescence. You heard the sister statistics on our infant mortality rate. Don't you know you're lucky to be uncommonly born? Why, they even tried to dispossess us of our dislike of being dispossessed. And I'll tell you something else. If we don't resist, pretty soon they'll succeed. These are the days of dispossession, the season of homelessness, the time of evictions. We'll be dispossessed of the very brains in our heads, and we're so uncommon that we can't even see it. Perhaps we're too polite. Perhaps we don't care to look at unpleasantness. They think we're blind, uncommonly blind. I don't wonder. Think about it. They've dispossessed us each of one eye from the day we were born. So now we can only see in straight white lines. We're a nation of one-eyed mice. Did you ever see such a sight in your life, such an uncommon sight? And ain't a farmer's wife in the house? The voice called through the titters of bitter laughter. It's another strike. I lean forward. You know, if we aren't careful, they'll slip up on our blind sides and plop, out goes our last good eye, and we're blind as bats. Someone's afraid we'll see something. Maybe that's why so many of our fine friends are present tonight. blue steel pistols and blue serge suits and all. But I believe one eye is enough to lose without resistance. And I think that's your belief. So let's get together. Did you ever notice, my dumb one-eyed brothers, how two totally blind men can get together and help one another along? They stumble, they bump into things, but they avoid dangers too. They get along. Let's get together, uncommon people, with both our eyes. We may see what makes us so uncommon. We'll see who makes us so uncommon. Up to now, we've been like a couple of one-eyed men walking down opposite sides of the street. Sometimes someone starts throwing bricks and we start blaming each other and fighting among ourselves. Shout out to Rolly B4K. Shout out to Rolly B4K joining the live stream chat. I appreciate you. Anyway, up to now, we've been like a couple of one-eyed men walking down opposite sides of the street. Someone starts throwing bricks and we start blaming each other and fighting among ourselves. But we're mistaken because there's a third party present. There's a smooth, oily scoundrel running down the middle of the wide gray street, throwing stones. He's the one. He's doing the damage. He claims he needs the space. He calls it his freedom. And he knows he's got us on our blind side, and he hasn't been popping away till he's got us silly, uncommonly silly. In fact, his freedom has got us damn nigh blind. Hush now, don't call no names, I called, holding up my palm. I say to hell with this guy. I say, come on, cross over. Let's make an alliance. I'll look out for you, and you look out for me. I'm good at catching, and I've got a damn good pitching arm. All right. Shout out to Crucified Sausages. Shout out to Crucified Sausages up in the chat, showing love. I would not be doing a backflip. Welcome back to my channel. We took a brief intermission, was dozing off a bit during the reading section, didn't realize how tired I was, but we are coming back to finish reading chapters 16 and 17 of Invisible Man. We will be wrapping up this very soon, maybe in about an hour or so. So if you have any comments or questions about the book, which I will only be responding to comments or questions about the book from now on, after seeing that so much of the internet is not actually real. I'll only be responding to people that are interacting with the text. Everybody else can kick rocks. You can go to hell. I don't care. Anyway, yeah, let's come back here. So our main character is giving a speech in some grand stadium with this new group that he's now a part of, the Brotherhood. And it doesn't seem like the speech is going over very well because a brother keeps shouting out in the crowd stuff like this. You don't pitch no balls, brother, not a single one. Let's make a miracle, I shouted. Let's take back our pillaged eyes. Let's reclaim our sight. Let's combine and spread our vision. Peep around the corner. There's a storm coming. Look down the avenue. There's only one enemy. Can't you see his face? It was a natural pause, and there was applause. But as it burst, I realized that the flow of words had stopped. What would I do when they started to listen again? I leaned forward, straining to see through the barrier of light. They were mine, out there, and I couldn't afford to lose them. Yet I suddenly felt naked, sensing that the words were returning and that something was about to be said that I shouldn't reveal. Look at me, the words ripped from my solar plexus. I haven't lived here long. Times are hard. I've known despair. I'm from the South, and since coming here, I've known eviction. I'd come to distrust the world. But look at me now. Something strange is happening. I'm here before you, I must confess. And suddenly, Brother Jack was beside me, pretending to adjust the microphone. Careful now, he whispered. Don't end your usefulness before you've begun. I'm all right, I said, leaning toward the mic. May I confess, I shouted. You are my friends. We share a common inheritance, and it's said that confession is good for the soul. Have I your permission? You're batting .500, brother, the voice called. There was a stir behind me. I waited until it was quiet and hurried on. Silence is consent, I said, so I'll have it out. I'll confess it. My shoulders were squared, my chin thrust forward, and my eyes focused straight into the light. Something strange and miraculous and transforming is taking place in me right now as I stand here before you. I could feel the words forming themselves, slowly falling into place. The light seemed to boil opalescently, like liquid soap shaken gently in a bottle. Let me describe it. It is something odd. It's something that I'm not sure I'd never experience anywhere else in the world. It's something that I'm sure I'd never experience anywhere else in the world. I feel your eyes upon me. I hear the pulse of your breathing. And now at this moment, with your black and white eyes upon me, I stumbled in a stillness so complete that I could hear the gears of the huge clock mounted somewhere on the balcony, gnawing upon time. What is it, son? What do you feel? A shrill voice cried. My voice fell into a husky whisper. I feel suddenly that I have become more human. Do you understand? More human. Not that I have become a man, for I was born a man, but that I am more human. I feel strong. I feel able to get things done. I feel that I can see sharp and clear and far down the dim corridor of history, and in it I can hear the footsteps of militant fraternity. No, wait, let me confess. I feel the urge to affirm my feelings. I feel that here, after a long and desperate and uncommonly blind journey, I have come home. Home. With your eyes upon me, I feel that I found my true family, my true people, my true country. I am a new citizen of the country of your vision, a native of your fraternal land. I feel that here tonight in this old arena, the new is being born and the vital old revived. In each of you, in me, in us all. Sisters, brothers, we are the true patriots, the citizens of tomorrow's world. Will be dispossessed no more. The applause struck like a clap of thunder. I stood transfixed, unable to see, my body quivering with the roar. I made an indefinite movement. What should I do? Wave to them? I faced the shouts, cheers, shrill whistling, my eyes burning from the light. I felt a large tear roll down my face, and I wiped it away with embarrassment. Others were starting down. Why didn't someone help me get out of the spot before I spoiled everything? But with the tears came an increase of applause, and I lifted my head, surprised, my eyes streaming. The sound seemed to roar up in waves. They had begun to stomp the floor, and I was laughing and bowing my head, now unashamed. It grew in volume. The sound of splitting wood came from the rear. I grew tired, but still they cheered, until, finally, I gave up and started back toward the chairs. Red spots danced before my eyes. Someone took my hand and leaned toward my ear. Hold on, I have commentary about that, but I gotta blow my nose real quick. Hold on. Okay. I have a lot to say about this, but I'm going to say this. I wish I didn't get sleepy when I first started reading this chapter, because I think this is, once again, one of my favorite chapters, because I love how this theme of being seen is a part of, having your humanity affirmed. And when he is giving speeches, it seems like this other person appears. This character, to be frank, is kind of meek. He's kind of always a perpetual bully victim, and he cannot seem to gain his own ground, grasp, or standing in the world until it's his time to speak. And when he speaks in front of the crowd in Harlem who are trying to, chase down the cop, or in front of these group of, faceless, nameless communists, right? then that's when the actual person appears. Though it's not really an actual person, it's more like a person who is more brave and affirming of their own humanity, right? Because he had no real, ideological leanings other than to just be a great black man, like the founder, right? That's all he really cared about. But now, with every group that he's a part of now, since his lobotomy, he's like trying to be a part of them, be them, and be seen by them. And this open confessional that he gives in front of this large crowd, that I am a native of your land, I am your brother, and we will finally do this together. I'm willing to go with you to the ends of the earth to be a part of your vision, as long as you see me and I see you. And the crowd just goes crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a moving moment. It's a moment that I wish I could have delivered better for all of you, but I still think the power of the text makes that scene still resonate. You know what I mean? So if you didn't, hear me say it, or if you didn't like the way I said it, read it for yourself, and you'll see how powerful that speech really was, and how it's a bit tragic it is too, that he sort of has to wait until people, willingly validate his existence by changing his identity, that he is, willing to be so debased. You know what I mean? But I digress. Let's continue here. You did it, goddammit, you did it. And I was puzzled by the hot mixture of hate and admiration bursting through his words as I thanked him and removed my hand from his crushing grasp. Thanks, I said, but the others had raised them to the right pitch. I shuddered. He sounded as though he would like to throttle me. I couldn't see, and there was much confusion, and suddenly someone spun me around, pulling me off balance, and I felt myself pressed against warm feminine softness, holding on. Oh, brother, brother, a woman's voice cried into my ear. Little brother, and I felt the hot, moist pressure of her lips upon my cheek. Blurred figures bumped about me. I stumbled as in a game of blind man's buff. My hands were shaken, my back pounded, my face was sprayed with the saliva of enthusiasm, and I decided that the next time I stood in the spotlight, it would be wise to wear dark sunglasses. It was a deafening demonstration. We left them cheering, knocking over chairs, stomping the floor. Brother Jack guided me off the platform. It's time we left, he shouted. Things have truly begun to move. All that energy must be organized. He guided me through the shouting crowd, hands continuing to touch me as I stumbled along. Then we entered the dark passage, and when we reached the end, the spots faded from our eyes, and I began to see again. Brother Jack paused at the door. Listen to them, he said, just waiting to be told what to do. And I could still hear the applause booming behind us. Then several of the others broke off their conversation and faced us, as the applause muffled down behind the closing door. Well, what do you think? Brother Jack said enthusiastically. How's that for a starter? There was a tense silence. I looked from face to face, black and white, feeling swift panic. They were grim. Well, Brother Jack said, his voice suddenly hard. I could hear the creaking of someone's shoes. Well, he repeated. Then the man with the pipe spoke up, a swift charge of tension building with his words. It was a most unsatisfactory beginning, he said quietly, punctuating the unsatisfactory with a stab of his pipe. He was looking straight at me, and I was puzzled. I looked at the others. Their faces were non-committal, stolid. Unsatisfactory, Brother Jack exploded. And what alleged process of thought led to that brilliant pronouncement? This is not the time for cheap sarcasm, brother, the brother with the pipe said. Sarcasm? You made the sarcasm. No, it isn't a time for sarcasms, nor for imbecilities, not for plain dumb fooleries. This is a key moment in the struggle. Things have just begun to move, and suddenly you are unhappy. You are afraid of success? What's wrong? Isn't this just what we've been looking for or working for? Again, ask yourself, you are the great leader. Look into your crystal ball. Brother Jack swore. Brothers, someone said. Brother Jack swore and swung to another brother. You, he said to the husky man, have you the courage to tell me what's going on here? Have we become a street corner gang? Silence. Someone shuffled his feet. The man with the pipe was looking now at me. Did I do something wrong? I said. The worst you could have done, he said coldly. Stunned, I looked at him wordlessly. Okay, what? Ain't this just like the left? Afraid of success. Afraid of success. Ain't that just like leftists? Hey guys, we actually did something. Let's shoot ourselves in the foot for it. Typical. Typical. Anyway, stunned, I looked at him wordlessly. Never mind, Brother Jack said, suddenly calm. Just what is the problem, brother? Let's have it out right here. Just what is your complaint? Not a complaint, an opinion. If we are still allowed to express our opinions, the brother with the pipe said. Your opinion then, Brother Jack said. In my opinion, the speech was wild, hysterical, politically irresponsible, and dangerous, he snapped. And worse than that, it was incorrect, he pronounced incorrect, as though the term described the most heinous crime imaginable. And I stared at him open-mouthed, feeling a vague guilt. So, Brother Jack said, looking from face to face, there's been a caucus and decisions have been made. Did you take minutes, Brother Chairman? Have you recorded your wise disputations? There was no caucus and the opinion still holds, the brother with the pipe said. No meeting, but just the same, there has been a caucus and decisions have been reached even before the event is finished. But brother, someone tried to intervene. A most brilliant operation, Brother Jack went on, smiling now. A consummate example of skilled theoretical ninjinskis leaping ahead of history. But come down, brothers, come down or you'll land on your dialectics. The stage of history hasn't built that far. The month after next, perhaps, but not yet. That's funny. That's funny. If you understand dialectics or the idea that history is moving forward because opposing forces are working against each other, you know, to say like, oh, the dialectics are moving, but they're not there yet. They might be there next Tuesday, but not, that's funny. That's some nerd humor. I like that. I like that. This book is funny, man. It's a funny book. Anyway, I'm not giving any shout outs to any of you bots anymore. Alkio Edits is probably a bot. Real Banana Leclerc is probably a bot too. All of you are bots. I don't care about any of you. I hate all of you. I hate you all. Okay? All right. Okay. And shout out to Rev9H5D. He says, someday your YouTube channel will have many viewers and you will also have fans. Most importantly, don't give up. Aw, I like that. I like that. Okay? Okay. James Wright says, is literature only on this channel? I just finished Malcolm X's autobiography and found it very interesting. That's what I like to see. See, the horizontal live has the best comments. Horizontal live has the best comments. I like that. Yeah, we should read Malcolm X's autobiography. Everybody should read that book in their lifetime. I listened to a YouTube video today from a white man named Professor Sky, white man, very white. And Professor Sky said the first book that everybody should buy for their library is the autobiography of Malcolm X. And I could not disagree with that. Such a powerful, profound book. That book, if that book doesn't change your life, then I don't think you have a soul worth examining. If you don't read that book and your life does not, that's the alchemist. That's the real alchemist. You know how white folks say, you know, I read The Alchemist and since then I've just been a changed person. Like we have to start pushing that narrative that the autobiography of Malcolm X is the real alchemist. Okay? So, yeah. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Rev9H5D for saying, one day, Simon, your channel will have many viewers. You'll also have many fans. And most importantly, don't give up. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But let's make that real right now. Let's make Rev9 5HD's dream for this channel real right now. Spread the word. This channel is not for trolling. This channel is not for bullshit. This channel is for laughs. It's actually talking about the topic, which we can have fun with. But it's not just to talk about stupid shit like you bots, like Tim Griffiths and Alkio Edits and other shit. It's actually to learn, but be on some nerdy, funny shit. That's it. It's to be on some nerdy, funny shit. talk about movies, talk about books, talk about, the state of our modern world in a twisted, funny, sarcastic, intellectual type of way. But most people are not capable of that. Most people are not capable of that. So, last comment I'll read right now. James Wright says, it really is a 10 out of 10 autobiography. The way he talked about violence is brilliant. Absolutely. James Wright, you are the man. You are the man. I wish I could give you a gift. I don't know what gift I can give you. Maybe I'll make you a moderator. Okay? We're going to make, because James Wright read a book, he is now a moderator. Okay? And by the way, because Jurassic Park keeps being brought up, if you've been on my channel, you should know that Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time. And we did a full-on movie review of it on my channel. We reviewed Jurassic Park as episode either 4, 5, or 6 of Simon and Acty movie reviews. So if you go on my channel and type in Jurassic Park, you can see the full-on movie review that we did. Okay, so I don't want to hear any more about that. I talked about Jurassic Park for an hour and a half with my wife, and you can go listen to it. Take that shit out of my chat. If I see Jurassic Park in my chat one more time, you will be put in timeout because this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. Okay? All right. Okay, continuing. All right. I'm going to continue here. So, Brother Jack said, a consummate example of skilled theoretical ninjinskis leaping ahead of history. But come down, brothers, come down, or you'll land on your dialectics. The stage of history hasn't built that far. The month after next, perhaps, but not yet. And what do you think, Brother Restrum? He asked, pointing to a big fellow of the shape and size of supercargo. I think the brother's speech was backward and reactionary, he said. I wanted to answer, but could not. No wonder his voice had sounded so mixed when he congratulated me. I could only stare into the broad face with his hate-burning eyes. And you, Brother Jack said, I liked the speech, the man said. I thought it was quite effective. And you, Brother Jack said to the next man, I am of the opinion that it was a mistake. And just why? Because we must strive to reach the people through their intelligence. Exactly, the brother with the pipe said. It was the antithesis of the scientific approach. Ours is a reasonable point of view. We are champions of a scientific approach to society. And such a speech as we've identified ourselves with tonight destroys everything that has been said before. The audience isn't thinking, it's yelling its head off. Sure, it's acting like a mob, the big black brother said. Brother Jack laughed. And this mob, he said, is it a mob against us or is it a mob for us? How do our muscle-bound scientists answer that? But before they could answer, he continued, perhaps you're right, perhaps it is a mob. But if it is, then it seems to be a mob that's simply boiling over to come along with us. And I shouldn't have to tell you theoreticians that science bases its judgments upon experiment. You're jumping to conclusions before the experiment has run its course. In fact, what's happening here tonight represents only one step in the experiment, the initial step, the release of energy. I can understand that it should make you timid. You're afraid of carrying through to the next step because it's up to you to organize that energy. Well, it's going to be organized and not by a bunch of timid, sideline theoreticians arguing in a vacuum, but by getting out and leading the people. Brother Jack is schizophrenic. He's all over the place. Multiple personality disorder brought to life. Okay? All right. James McWright says he won't ban anyone with my explicit orders. I appreciate that, James. James, what you're allowed to do is put anybody you want in timeout. Okay? Please don't ban people, okay? James McWright, now that you're a moderator, don't ban people. But what you can do is put anybody you think who is being hateful, discriminatory, in timeout for maximum 24 hours, okay? So that's what you can do with that power, all right? So, all right. He was fighting mad, looking from face to face, his red head bristling, but no one answered his challenge. It's disgusting, he said, pointing to me. Our new brother has succeeded by instinct, where for 2 years your science has failed, and now all you can offer is destructive criticism. I beg to differ, the brother with the pipe said. To point out the dangerous nature of the speech isn't destructive criticism. Far from it. Like the rest of us, the new brother must learn to speak scientifically. He must be trained. So at last it occurs to you, Brother Jack said, pulling down the corners of his mouth. Training, all is not lost. There's hope that our wild but effective speaker may be tamed. The scientists perceive a possibility. Very well, it has been arranged. Perhaps not scientifically, but arranged nevertheless. For the next few months, our new brother is to undergo a period of intense study and indoctrination under the guidance of Brother Hambro. That's right, he said as I started to speak. I meant to tell you later. Well, that's a long time, I said. How am I going to live? Your salary will continue, he said. Meanwhile, you'll be guilty of no further unscientific speeches to upset our brother's scientific tranquility. In fact, you are to stay completely out of Harlem. Perhaps then we'll see if you brothers are as swift at organizing as you are at criticizing. It's your move, brothers. I think Brother Jack is correct, a short, bald man said, and I don't think that we, of all people, should be afraid of the people's enthusiasm. What we've got to do is guide it into channels where it will do the most good. The rest were silent, the brother with the pipe looking at me unbendingly. Come, Brother Jack said, let's get out of here. If we keep our eyes on the real goal, our chances are better than ever before. And let's remember that science isn't a game of chess. Although chess may be played scientifically. The other thing to remember is that we are to organize the masses. We must first organize ourselves. Thanks to our new brother, things have changed. We mustn't fail to make use of our opportunity. From now on, it's up to you. We shall see, the brother with the pipe said. And as for the new brother, a few talks with Brother Hambro wouldn't harm anyone. Hambro, I thought, going out, who the hell is he? I suppose I'm lucky they didn't fire me, so now I've got to go to school again. Out in the night, the group was breaking up, and Brother Jack drew me aside. Don't worry, he said. You'll find Brother Hambro interesting, and a period of training was inevitable. Your speech tonight was a test which you passed with flying colors, so now you'll be prepared for some real work. Here's the address. See Brother Hambro the first thing in the morning. He's already been notified. When I reached home, tiredness seemed to explode within me. My nerves remained tense, even after I had a hot shower and crawled into bed. In my disappointment, I wanted only to sleep, but my mind kept wandering back to the rally. It had actually happened. I had been lucky and had said the right things at the right time, and they had liked me. Or perhaps I had said the wrong things in the right places. Whatever. They had liked it regardless of the brothers. And from now on, my life would be different. It was different already. For now, I realized that I meant everything that I had said to the audience, even though I hadn't known that I was going to say those things. I had intended only to make a good appearance, to say enough to keep the Brotherhood interested in me. What had come out was a completely uncalculated, as though another self within me had taken over and held forth. And lucky that it had, or I might have been fired. See, that's exactly my theory. You know, he's a different person. Maybe he doesn't even see his true self. You know what I mean? In this book, maybe he doesn't even know who he truly is. Because he's like, I didn't even know who that person was. I didn't even know I believed that, you know, until he said it. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. So James Wright says, I understand the standards for your channel. I'll do my best for you. All right. Salute to you, soldier. And yeah, I think if you want to be of help, James Wright, you can monitor both chats because we have two chats going on. We have the chat that's the vertical, of course, as you know, and we have the horizontal one. The horizontal one is the academic one. of course, James, where the people are reading the text along with me. But the vertical one seems to be a trash bin, and they could use some cleaning if you think so. But the discretion is up to you. All right? Anyway, let's continue here. Yeah. So, even my technique had been different. No one who had known me at college would have recognized the speech, but that was it. But that was as it should have been, for I was someone new, even though I had spoken in a very old-fashioned way. I had been transformed, and now lying restlessly in bed in the dark, I felt a kind of affection for the blurred audience whose faces I had never clearly seen. They had been with me from the first word. They had wanted me to succeed. And fortunately, I had spoken for them, and they had recognized my words. I belonged to them. I sat up, grasping my knees, in the dark, as though struck home. Perhaps this was what was meant by being dedicated and set aside. Very well, if so, I accepted it. My possibilities were suddenly broadened. As a Brotherhood spokesman, I would represent not only my own group, but one that was much larger. The audience was mixed, their claims broader than race. I would do whatever was necessary to serve them well. If they could take a chance with me, then I'd do the very best that I could. How else could I save myself from disintegration? Shout out to Mr. Kitty for saying he subscribed. All people are encouraged to subscribe, and I appreciate all subscribers, no matter where they come from. Okay? Shout out to Mr. Kitty for that. Anyway, continuing here. I sat there in the dark, trying to recall the sequence of the speech. Already it seemed the expression of someone else, yet I knew that it was mine and mine alone. And if it was recorded by a stenographer, I would have a look at it tomorrow. Words, phrases skipped through my mind. I saw the blue haze again. What had I meant by saying that I'd become more human? Was it a phrase that I had picked up from some preceding speaker or a slip of the tongue? For a moment, I thought of my grandfather and quickly dismissed him. What had an old slave to do with humanity? Perhaps it was something that Woodridge had said in the literature class back at college. I could see him vividly, half drunk on words and full of contempt and exaltation, pacing before the blackboard chalked with quotations from Joyce and Yeats and Sean O'Casey. Thin, nervous, neat, pacing as though he walked a high wire of meaning upon which no one of us would ever dare venture. I could hear him. Stephen's problem, like ours, was not actually one of creating the uncreated conscious of his race, but of creating the uncreated features of his face. Our task is that of making ourselves individuals. The conscious of a race is the gift of its individual who see. Pardon, sorry. Our task is that of making ourselves individuals. The conscious of race is the gift of its individuals who see, evaluate, record. We create the race by creating ourselves, and then to our great astonishment, we will have created something far more important. We will have created a culture. Why waste time creating a conscious for something that doesn't exist? For you see, blood and skin do not think. But no, it wasn't Woodridge, more human. Did I mean that I had become less of what I was, less a Negro, or that I was less a being apart, less an exile from down home, the South? But all this is negative. To become less in order to become more. Perhaps that it was, but in what way more human? Even Woodridge hadn't spoken of such things. It was a mystery once more, as at the eviction I had uttered words that had possessed me. Okay? All right. So shout out to Mr. Kitty asking to be a sub. No. Asking to be a moderator. No, you cannot be a moderator because you are not actively engaged in this discussion about Black existence. This is an epistemological discussion about what does it mean to be human when you are Black. And you cannot be human in this book's sense, and also in an Afro-pessimistic sense, you cannot be human if you are Black because we are not allowed full humanity. If I were allowed full humanity as a person, you would have the respect and dignity of coming into the live stream to engage with the shit that I find so valuable and important. And instead, you're talking about Roblox. Black people are not human. We are not human because when y'all see us, all you expect us to do is entertain and act in a way that you find to be valuable, such as singing, rapping, tap dancing, boxing, running a ball up and down a court. That's all you find to be important and pertinent. But here I am reading one of the most important books in Black American literature history, and all you can talk about is Roblox and beg for a sub. I beg for a moderator position. No, no, no. And once again, I appreciate all of you bots and trolls for affirming so many of my preconceived notions about white folks, about non-black folks, about the state of our world today, and about the inhumanity or non-humanity of Black personhood. I appreciate all of you for showing me through your actions and words how we truly are perceived. Okay? And before any of you say it's not that deep, bro, it's just YouTube. I'm on YouTube every single day and I see the comments. I see the trolls. I see how y'all act in these chat rooms when y'all are given the opportunity to actually learn, because your white mommy and daddy didn't teach you shit. Your white mommy and daddy didn't teach you shit. You go to school and you don't learn shit. You exist in a world full of ignorance and hate, and yet and still, when you're faced with the light of actual education, with education meaning to deduce and learn from inside the self, to have a life worth reflecting upon, all you can talk about is Roblox. Disgusting. I spit on your grave. I spit on you as people, because you are not people in my subjectivity. I continue here. Last paragraph of chapter 16. I thought of Bledsoe and Norton and what they had done. By kicking me into the dark, they made me see the possibility of achieving something greater and more important than I'd ever dreamed. Here was a way that didn't lead through the back door, a way not limited by black and white, but a way which, if one lived long enough and worked hard enough, could lead to the highest possible rewards. Here was a way to have part in making the big decisions, of seeing through the mystery of how the country, the world, really operated. For the first time, lying there in the dark, I could glimpse a possibility of being more than a member of a race. It was no dream. The possibility existed. I had only to work and learn and survive in order to go to the top. Sure, I'd study with Hambro. I learned what he had to teach and a lot more. Let tomorrow come. The sooner I was through with this Hambro, the sooner I could get started with my work. All right. And that's the end of chapter 16. I need to get I need to get a bandana to blow my nose. All super chats are appreciated, even if I crash out on you. Mr. Kitty, you obviously have money because you're watching this live stream now on the internet. It takes money to have the internet. If you're not going to actually engage with the conversation, at least donate to the cause of me trying to educate the people. But if not, shh, I will be back. All right, we are back. We are back once again. Sorry for another brief intermission. You know, when you go to sleep, sometimes you wake up and you have to sneeze a lot. You have to blow your nose a lot. I don't know why that is. If anybody else has that issue, let me know how you deal with it. But I just sort of, blow my way out of it. Pause, no diddy. Anyway, we're going to be reading chapter 17 as promised. Good thing I did take that nap because chapter 17 is a doozy. We are here on page 276, and chapter 17 does not end until page 297. So it's close to 30 pages or so, maybe more than that, right? So we're gonna be here. No, sorry, like close to 20 pages or so, but still, it's gonna be some time. So we're gonna knock this out, maybe about 30 minutes to an hour sometime. Let's see how it goes. Chapter 17. 4 months later, when Brother Jack called the apartment at midnight to tell me to be prepared to take a ride, I became quite excited. For months later, when Brother Jack called the apartment at midnight to tell me to be prepared to take a ride, I became quite excited. Fortunately, I was awake and dressed, and when he drove up a few minutes later, I was waiting expectantly at the curb. Maybe, I thought, as I saw him hunched behind the wheel in his topcoat, this is what I've been waiting for. How have you been, brother? I said, getting in. A little tired, he said. Not enough sleep, too many problems. Then, as he got the car underway, he became silent, and I decided not to ask any questions. That was one thing I had learned thoroughly. There must be something done. They must be doing something at the Chthonian, I thought, watching him staring at the road as though lost in thought. Maybe the brothers are waiting to put me through my paces. If so, fine. I've been waiting for an examination. But instead of going to the Chthonian, I looked out to discover that he had brought me to Harlem and was parking the car. We'll have a drink, he said, getting out and heading for where the neon-lighted sign of a bull's head announced the El Toro bar. I was disappointed. I wanted no drink. I wanted to take the next step that lay between me and an assignment. I followed him inside with a surge of irritation. The bar room was warm and quiet. The usual rows of bottles with exotic names were lined on the shelves, and in the rear, where four men argued in Spanish over glasses of beer, a jukebox, lit up green and red, played Media Luz. And as we waited for the bartender, I tried to figure the purpose of the trip. I had seen very little of Brother Jack after beginning my studies with Brother Hambro. My life had been too tightly organized, but I should have known that if anything was going to happen, Brother Hambro would have let me know. Instead, I was to meet him in the morning as usual. That Hambro, I thought, is he a fanatic teacher? A tall, friendly man, a lawyer and the Brotherhood's chief theoretician, he had proved to be a hard taskmaster. Between daily discussions with him and a rigid schedule of reading, I had been working harder than I'd ever found necessary at college. Even my nights were organized. Every evening found me at some rally or meeting in one of the many districts, though this was my first trip to Harlem since my speech, where I'd sit on the platform with the speakers, making notes to be discussed with him the next day. Every occasion became a study situation, even the parties that sometimes followed the meetings. During these, I had to make mental notes on the ideological attitudes revealed in the guest conversations, but I had soon learned the methods in it. Not only had I been learning the many aspects of the Brotherhood's policy and its approach to various social groupings, but the citywide membership had grown familiar with me. My part in the eviction was kept very much alive, and although I was under orders to make no speeches, I had grown accustomed to being introduced as a kind of hero. Yet it had been mainly a time for listening, and, being a talker, I had grown impatient. Now I knew most of the Brotherhood arguments so well that I doubted as well as those I believed. Those I doubted as well as those I believed. Now I knew most of the Brotherhood's arguments so well, those I doubted as well as those I believed, that I could repeat them in my sleep, but nothing had been said about my assignment. Thus I had hoped the midnight call meant some kind of action was to begin. Beside me, Brother Jack was still lost in thought. He seemed in no hurry to go elsewhere or for a talk. And as the slow-motion bartender mixed our drinks, I puzzled vainly as to why he had brought me here. Before me, in a panel where a mirror is usually placed, I could see a scene from a bullfight. The bull charging close to the man, and the man swinging the red cape in sculptured folds so close to his body that man and bull seemed to blend in one world of calm, pure motion. Pure grace, I thought, looking above the bar to where, larger than life, the pink and white image of a girl smiled down from a summery beer ad on which a calendar said April 1. Then, as our drinks were placed before us, Brother Jack came alive. His mood changing as though in the instant he had settled whatever had been bothering him and felt suddenly free. Here, come back, he said, nudging me playfully. She's only a cardboard image of a cold steel civilization. I laughed, glad to hear him joking. And that, I said, pointing to the bullfight scene, sheer barbarism, he said, watching the bartender and lowering his voice to a whisper. But tell me, how have you found your work with Brother Hambro? Oh, fine, I said. He's strict, but if I'd had teachers like him in college, I'd know a few things. He taught me a lot, but whether enough to satisfy the brothers who dislike my arena speech, I don't know. Shall we converse scientifically? He laughed, one of his eyes glowing brighter than the others. Don't worry about the brothers, he said. You'll do very well. Brother Hambro's reports on you have been excellent. Now, that's nice to hear, I said, aware now of another bullfight scene further down the bar in which the matador was being swept skyward on the black bull's horns. I've worked pretty hard trying to master the ideology. Master it, Brother Jack said, but don't overdo it. Don't let it master you. There is nothing to put the people to sleep like dry ideology. The ideal is to strike a medium between ideology and inspiration. Say what the people want to hear, but say it in such a way that they'll do what we wish. Interesting. Very interesting. He laughed. Remember too, that theory always comes after practice. Act first, theorize later. That's also a formula, a devastatingly effective one. He looked at me as though he did not see me, and I could not tell whether he was laughing at me or with me. I was sure only that he was laughing. Yes, I said, I'll try to master all that is required. You can, he said, and now you don't have to worry about the brothers' criticism. Just throw some ideology back at them and they'll leave you alone. Provided, of course, that you have the right backing and produce the required results. Another drink? Thanks, I've had enough. Are you sure? Sure. Good. Now to your assignment. Tomorrow you are to become a chief spokesman of the Harlem district. What? All right. Yeah, so you are to become the chief spokesman of the Harlem district. What? Yes, the committee decided yesterday, but I had no idea. You'll do all right. Now listen, you are to continue what you started at the eviction. Keep them stirred up. Get them active. Get as many to join as possible. You'll be given guidance by some of the older members. But for the time being, you are to see what you can do. You will have freedom of action, and you will be under strict discipline to the committee. I see, I said. No, you don't quite see, he said, but you will. You must not underestimate the discipline, brother. It makes you answerable to the entire organization for what you do. Don't underestimate the discipline. It is very strict, but within its framework, you are to have full freedom to do your work. And your work is very important, understand? His eyes seemed to crowd my face as I nodded yes. We'd better go now so that you can get some sleep, he said, draining his glass. You're a soldier now. Your health belongs to the organization. I'll be ready, I said. I know you will. Until tomorrow, then. You'll meet with the executive committee of the Harlem section at 9 a.m. You know the location, of course. No, brother, I don't. Oh, that's right. Then you better come up with me for a minute. I have to see someone there, and you can take a look at where you'll work. I'll drop you off on the way down, he said. Interesting, interesting. So, continuing here. The district offices were located in a converted church structure, the main floor of which was occupied by a pawn shop, its windows crammed with loot that gleamed dully in the darkened street. We took a stair to the third floor, entering a large room beneath a high Gothic ceiling. It's down here, Brother Jack said, making for the end of the large room where I saw a row of smaller ones, only one of which was lighted. And now I saw a man appear in the door and limp forward. Evening, Brother Jack, he said. Why, Brother Tarp? I expected to find Brother Tobit. I know. He was here, but he had to leave, the man said. He left this envelope for you and said he'd call you later on tonight. Good, good, Brother Jack said. Here, meet a new brother. Pleased to meet you, the brother said smilingly. I heard you speak at the arena. You really told him. Thanks, I said. So you liked it, did you, Brother Tart? Brother Jack said. The boy's all right with me, the man said. Well, you're going to see a lot of him. He's your new spokesman. That's fine, the man said. Looks like we're going to get some changes made. Correct, Brother Jack said. Now let's look at his office and we'll be going. Really sorry to anybody following the flow. I apologize. All right. So, yeah. Sure, Brother Tarp said. Sure, Brother, Tarp said, limping before me into one of the dark rooms and snapping on a light. This here is the one. I looked into a small office containing a flat-top desk with a telephone, a typewriter on its table, a bookcase with shelves of books and pamphlets, and a huge map of the world inscribed with ancient nautical signs and a heroic figure of Columbus to one side. If there's anything you need, just see Brother Tarp, Brother Jack said. He's here at all times. Thanks, I shall, I said. I'll get oriented in the morning. Yes, and we'd better go so you can get some sleep. Good night, Brother Tarp. See that everything is ready for him in the morning. He won't have to worry about a thing, brother. Good night. It's because we attract men like Brother Tarp there that we shall triumph, he said, as we climbed into the car. He's old physically, but ideologically, he's a vigorous young man. He can be depended upon in the most precarious circumstance. He sounds like a good man to have around, I said. You'll see, he said, and lapsed into a silence that lasted until we reached my door. Okay, so going to James Wright. I love James Wright. James Wright is the truth. Our guy James Wright in the chat is the truth. Let's read his comment. I didn't even skim it. Hopefully it's the truth. Let's find out. There's an idea in the book that the Brotherhood might secretly be under the control of white people who put the agenda into undesirable tangents. Do you think this kind of thing happens in real life? Let's read that again. There's an idea in the book that the Brotherhood might be secretly under the control of white people who puts the agenda of it into undesirable tangents. Do you think this kind of happens in real life? If I understand your question, James, the Brotherhood is basically has an ideology that doesn't really care about solving the issue of anti-blackness. And rather, they just use black people as faces and fronts for their own ideology, which so far has not been described. It's just, scientific, and it's all about history, which is obviously an attempt at describing socialism. You know what I mean? I do obviously think that happens in real life. Black people do become faces and spokespeople for movements that have nothing to do with actually fighting against anti-blackness or the systems that create all the evil isms of this world. I absolutely agree with you. And I think those movements are primarily right-wing conservative movements. So the people that really fall into this are the people like Candace Owens, every black Republican, every conservative who has melanin, you know what I mean? And I think if there are left-wing movements or class-based movements where people are solely focused on class and not about race, then I think it's pertinent for black people to join those organizations and put our issues to the forefront, which does not happen in conservative right-wing movements. You don't see Candace Owens talking about police brutality. In fact, she talks about the opposite. Candace Owens became famous and got rich because she made a video where she said George Floyd did not actually die because a police officer kneeled on his neck for 9 minutes. In fact, the opposite. Candace Owens said George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose. And even if he was killed by the police, which is Candace Owens' argument, good. He was a no-good black thug who deserved to be killed and not have his constitutional rights to due process heard. So I digress. That is a big shame, and I don't know how you'd fight against that. Very interesting. I think it is possible to fight against anti-blackness or white liberalism's blindness to black issues, and that's by being involved, by taking these movements, these ideologies, and crafting them for our own purpose. There's a book I've been meaning to write for the past year titled Afrofascism, where we take fascism and make it work for us. Now, not to advocate for Afrofascism, but to show that we have to be involved in, turning these ideas on their heads to make them suitable and palatable to ending anti-blackness, because that should be our primary goal. Ending anti-blackness and liberating the world by ending this one, okay? So, all right, let's continue here. The committee was assembling in the hall with the high Gothic ceilings when I arrived, sitting in folding chairs around two small tables pushed together to form a unit. Well, Brother Jack said, you are on time. Very good. We favor precision in our leaders. Brother, I shall always try to be on time, I said. Here he is, brothers and sisters. He said, your new spokesman. Now to begin. Are we all present? All except Brother Todd Clifton, someone said. His red head jerked with surprise. So? He'll be here, a young brother said. We were working until 3 this morning. Still, he should be on time. Very well, Brother Jack said, taking out a watch. Let us begin. I have only a little time here, but a little time is all that is needed. You all know the events of the recent period and the role our new brother has played in them. Briefly, you are here to see that it isn't wasted. We must achieve 2 things. We must plan methods of increasing the effectiveness of our agitation, and we must organize the energy that has already been released. This calls for a rapid increase of membership. The people are fully aroused. If we fail to lead them into action, they will become passive, or they will become cynical. Thus, it is necessary that we strike immediately and strike hard. Okay? James Wright says, that's a very compelling idea in relation to Afrofascism. I hope you can get it published, even if no publisher watch it. We can publish it ourselves online. You know what I mean? I think if I don't write Afrofascism, I'd be doing the world a disservice. I feel like the only thing I can die happy, if I at least write Afrofascism and put that idea out in the world. It has to be done. And I should be making more time to getting on that project. That is a project that needs to be done. Hopefully by the end of 2026, it can be done. But Afrofascism has to be put to page, okay? But thank you, James Wright, for your support. Let's continue here. All right, but what do you think about this? Do you think that we can abolish anti-blackness? And should black people be a part of left-wing groups that do not put race abolition or fighting against anti-blackness as a primary goal and objective? What do you think? Anyway, where were we? So, for this purpose, Brother Jack said, nodding toward me, our brother has been appointed district spokesman. You are to give him your loyal support and regard him as the new instrument of the committee's authority. I heard the slight applause splatter up, only to halt with the opening of the door, and I looked down past the rows of chairs to where a hatless young man about my own age was coming into the hall. He wore a heavy sweater and slacks, and as the others looked up, I heard the quick intake of a woman's pleasurable sigh. Then the young man was moving with an easy Negro stride out of the shadow into the light, and I saw that he was very black and very handsome, and as he advanced mid-distance into the room, that he possessed the chiseled black marble features sometimes found on statues in northern museums and alive in southern towns, in which the white offspring of house children and the black offspring of yard children bear names. Features and character traits as identical as the rifling of bullets fired from a common barrel. And now close up, leaning tall and relaxed, his arms outstretched stiffly upon the table, I saw the broad, taut span of his knuckles upon the dark grain of the wood, the muscular, sweatered arms, the curving line of the chest rising to the easy pulsing of his throat, to the square, smooth chin, and saw a small X-shaped patch of adhesive upon the subtly blended velvet over stone, granite over bone, Afro-Anglo-Saxon contour of his cheek. Okay, Ralph Ellison might have been a bit homoerotic in that description. I have never seen a description of a black man that just reeked of just sensuality like that. They just said this was the sexiest nigga alive just walked into the room and stole the show. The blackest, sexiest nigga alive just stole the show. Just walk. Who writes that? Okay, what's the point of that? Ellison, chill, bro, chill. He leaned there, looking at us all with remote aloofness, in which I sensed an unstated questioning beneath a friendly charm. Sensing a possible rival, I watched him warily, wondering who he was. Ah, so Brother Todd Clifton is late, Brother Jack said. Our leader of the youth is late. Why is this? The young man pointed to his cheek and smiled. I had to see the doctor, he said. What is this? Brother Jack said, looking at the cross of adhesive on the black skin. Just a little encounter with the nationalists, with Ross the Exhorter's boys, Brother Clifton said, and I heard a gasp from one of the women who gazed at him with shining, compassionate eyes. Brother Jack gave me a quick look. Brother, you have heard of Ross. He is the wild man who calls himself a black nationalist. I don't recall so, I said. You'll hear of him soon enough. Sit down. Brother Clifton, sit down. You must be careful. You are valuable to the organization. You must not take chances. This was unavoidable, the young man said. Just the same, Brother Jack said, returning to the discussion with a call for ideas. Brother, are we still to fight against evictions? I said. It has become a leading issue thanks to you. Then why not step up the fight? He studied my face. What do you suggest? Well, since it has attracted so much attention, why not try to reach the whole community with the issue? And how would you suggest we go about it? I suggest we get the community leaders support of us. There are certain difficulties in face of this, Brother Jack said. Most of the leaders are against us. But I think he's got something there, Brother Clifton said. What if we got them to support the issue, whether they like us or not? The issue is a community issue. It's nonpartisan. Sure, I said, that's how it looks to me. With all the excitement over evictions, they can't afford to come out against us, not without appearing to be against the best interests of the community. So we have them across a barrel, Clifton said. That is perceptive enough, Brother Jack said. The others agreed. You see, Brother Jack said with a grin, we've always avoided these leaders. But the moment we start to advance on a broad front, sectarianism becomes a burden to be cast off. Any other suggestions? He looked around. Brother, I said, remembering now, when I first came to Harlem, one of the first things that impressed me was a man making a speech from a ladder. He spoke very violently and with an accent, but he had an enthusiastic audience. Why can't we carry our program to the street in the same way? So you have met him, he said, suddenly grinning. Well, Ras the Exhorter has had a monopoly in Harlem, but now that we are larger, we might give it a try. What the committee wants is results. So that was Ras the Exhorter, I thought. We'll have trouble with the exhorter. I mean the extorter. I mean the exhorter. A big woman said. His hoodlums would attack and denounce the white meat of a roasted chicken. We laughed. He goes wild when he sees black people and white people together, she said to me. We'll take care of that, Brother Clifton said, touching his cheek. Very well, but no violence, Brother Jack said. The Brotherhood is against violence and terror and provocation of any kind. Aggressive, that is. Understand, Brother Clifton? I understand, he said. We will not countenance any aggressive violence, understand? Nor attacks upon officials or others who do not attack us. We are against all forms of violence. Do you understand? Yes, brother, I said. Very well. Having made this clear, I leave you now, he said. See what you can accomplish. You'll have plenty support from other districts and all the guidance you need. Meanwhile, remember that we are all under discipline. He left and we divided the labor. I suggested that each work in the area he knew best. Since there was no liaison between the Brotherhood and the community leaders, I assigned myself the task of creating one. It was decided that our street meetings begin immediately and that Brother Todd Clifton was to return and go over the details with me. While the discussion continued, I studied their faces. They seemed absorbed with the cause and in complete agreement, blacks and whites. But when I tried to place them as to type, I got nowhere. But when I tried to place them as to type, I got nowhere. The big woman, who looked like a southern suds buster, was in charge of women's work and spoke in abstract ideological terms. The shy-looking man with the liver spotches on his neck spoke with a bold directness and eagerness for action. And this brother Todd Clifton, the youth leader, looked somehow like a hipster, a zoot suiter, a sharpie, except his head of Persian lamb's wool had never known a straightener. I could place none of them. They seemed familiar, but were just as different as Brother Jack, and the other whites were from all the white men I had known. They were all transformed, like familiar people seen in a dream. Well, I thought, I'm different too. And they'll see it when the talk is finished and the action begins. I'll just have to be careful not to antagonize anyone. As it is, someone might resent my being placed in charge. But when Brother Todd Clifton came into my office to discuss the street meeting, I saw no signs of resentment, but a complete absorption in the strategy of the meeting. With great care, he went about instructing me how to deal with the hecklers, on what to do if we were attacked, and upon how to recognize our own members from the rest of the crowd. For all his seeming zoot-suiter characteristics, his speech was precise, and I had no doubt that he knew his business. How do you think we'll do? I said when he had finished. It'll go big, man, he said. It'll be bigger than anything since Garvey. I wish I could be so sure, I said. I never saw Garvey. I didn't either, he said, but I understand that in Harlem he was very big. Okay. All right. Well, we're not Garvey, and he didn't last. No, but he must have had something, he said with sudden passion. He must have had something to move all those people. Our people are hell to move. He must have had plenty. We have a scientific plan, and you set them off. Things are so bad they'll listen, and when they listen, they'll go along. I hope so, I said. They will. You haven't been around the movement as I have for 3 years now, and I can feel the change. They're ready to move. I hope your feelings are right, I said. They're right, all right, he said, and all we have to do is gather them in. The evening was almost of a winter coldness, the corner well lighted, and the all-Negro crowd large and tightly packed. Up on the ladder now, I was surrounded by a group of Clifton's youth division, and I could see, beyond their backs with upturned collars, the faces of the doubtful, the curious, and the convinced in the crowd. It was early, and I threw my voice hard down against the traffic sounds, feeling the damp coldness of the air upon my cheeks and hands as my voice warmed with my emotion. I had just begun to feel the pulsing set up between myself and the people, hearing them answering in staccato applause and agreement when Todd Clifton caught my eye, pointing. And over the heads of the crowd and down past the dark storefronts and blinking neon signs, I saw a bristling band of about 20 men quick-stepping forward. I looked down. It's trouble. Keep talking, Clifton said. Give the boys the signal. My brothers, the time has come for action, I shouted. And now I saw the youth members and some older men move around to the back of the crowd and up to meet the advancing group. Then something sailed up out of the dark, and I landed hard against my forehead. And I felt the crowd surging close, sending the ladder moving backwards. And I was like a man tottering above a crowd on stilts, then dropping backwards into the street and clear, hearing the ladder down. They were milling in a panic now, and I saw Clifton beside me. The exhorter, he yelled. Can you use your hands? I can use my fist. I was annoyed. Very well, all right then. Here's your chance. Come on, let's see you duke. He moved forward and seemed to dive into the whirling crowd, and I beside him, seeing them scatter into doorways and pound off in the dark. There's Ras over there, Clifton cried, and I heard the sound of breaking glass and the street went dark. Someone had knocked out the light, and through the dimness I saw Clifton heading to where a red neon sign glowed in the dark window as something went past my head. Then a man ran up with a length of pipe, and I saw Clifton close with him, ducking down and working in close and grabbing the man's wrist and twisting suddenly, like a soldier executing an about face, so that now he faced me, the back of the man's elbow rigid across his shoulder, and the man rising on tiptoe and screaming as Clifton straightened smoothly and levered down on the arm. Damn. All right. So, yeah, this is it's crazy that people were outside fighting for ideology. They were outside really fighting over ideology. I heard a dry popping. Shout out, by the way, to Daniel Riga, 4730. Shout out to Daniel Riga, 4730 up in the chat. Salute to you for coming in and showing love to the live stream. All right. I heard a dry popping sound and saw the man sag, and the pipe rang upon the wall. Someone caught me hard in the stomach, and suddenly I knew that I was fighting too. I went to my knees and rolled and pulled erect, facing him. Get up, Uncle Tom, he said, and I clipped him. He had his hands, I had mine, and the match was even, but he was not so lucky. He wasn't down, and he wasn't out, but I caught him 2 good ones, and he decided to fight elsewhere. When he turned, I tripped him and moved away. The fight was moving back into the dark where the street lights had been knocked out clear to the corner, and it was quiet except for the grunting and straining and the sound of footfalls and of blows. It was confusing in the dark, and I couldn't tell ours from theirs, and moved cautiously, trying to see. Someone up the street in the dark yelled, break it up, and I thought, cops, and looked around for Clifton. The neon sign glowed mysteriously, and there was a lot of running and cursing. And now I saw him working skillfully in a store lobby before a red checks cashed here sign. And I hurried over, hearing objects sailing past my head and the crash of glass. Clifton's arms were moving in a short, accurate jabs against the head and stomach of Ras the Extorter, punching swiftly and scientifically, careful not to knock him into the window or strike the glass with his fist. Working Ras between rights and lefts, jabs so fast that he rocked like a drunken bull from side to side. And as I came up, Ras tried to bull his way out, and I saw Clifton drive him back and down into a squat, his hands upon the dark floor of the lobby, his heels back against the door like a runner against starting blocks. And now shooting forward, he caught Clifton coming in, butting him, and I heard the burst of breath, and Clifton was on his back, and something flashed in Ross's hands, and he came forward, a short, heavy figure, as wide as the lobby, now with the knife, moving deliberately. I spun, looking for the length of pipe, diving for it and crawling on hands and knees. And here, coming up to see Ras reach down, getting one hand into Clifton's collar, the knife in the other, looking down at Clifton and panting, bull angry. I froze, seeing him draw back the knife and stop it in midair, draw back and stop, cursing, then draw back and stop again, all very quickly, beginning to cry now and talking rapidly at the same time, and me easing slowly forward. Man, Ras blurted, I ought to kill you. God damn, I ought to kill you, and the world be better off. But you black man, why you be black man? I swear I ought to kill you. No man, strike the exhorter. God damn it, no man. Okay. Ras... I take it Ras the Extorter is supposed to be a parody of like Mark Garvey and like extreme black nationalists and stuff like that. I like his character just from that one line right there. I wish Ellison was better at describing fights and violence. You know, I think the best way to do a fight scene in literature is just short staccato sentences, not these very descriptive, grandiose, this play-by-play of the fight. You know what I mean? Just let it say there was a fight. We're brawling. Fists are flying. Pipes are swinging. You know what I mean? Instead of making it this long and drawn out. But I continue here. I saw him raise the knife again, and now as he lowered it unused, he pushed Clifton into the street and stood over him, sobbing. Why are you with these white folks? Why are you with these white folks? Why? I've been watching you a long time. I say to myself, soon he gets smart and get tired. He get out of that thing. Why a good boy like you still with them? Still, moving forward, I saw his face gleam with red, angry tears as he stood above Clifton with the still innocent knife and the tears red in the glow of the window sign. All right. You, my brother, man. Brothers are the same color. How the hell you call these white men brother? Shit, man. That's shit. Brothers the same color. We sons of Mama Africa. You done forgot. You black. Black. You goddamn man. He said, swinging the knife for emphasis. You got bad hair. You got thick lips. They say you stink. They hate you, man. You African. African. You Afrian. Okay, did he mix like African and Aryan together? That's crazy. They hate you, man. You Afrian. African. Why you with them? Leave that shit, man. They sell you out. That shit is old fashioned. They enslave us. You forget that. How can they mean a black man any good? How can they be going to be your brother? I had reached him now and brought the pipe down hard, seeing the knife fly off into the dark as he grabbed his wrist. And I raised the pipe again, suddenly hot with fear and hate, as he looked at me out of his narrow little eyes, standing his ground. And you, man, the exhorter said, a regular little black devil, a goddamn sly mongoose. Where you think you from? Going with the white folks. I know, goddamn it, don't I know it? You from down south. You from Trinidad, you from Barbados, Jamaica, South Africa, and the white man's foot in your ass all the way to the hip. What you trying to deny by betraying the black people? Why you fight against us? You young fellows, you young black men with plenty education. I've been hearing your rabble rousing. Why you go over to the enslaver? What kind of education is that? What kind of black man is that who betray his own mama? Shut up. Shut up, Clifton said, leaping to his feet. Shut up. Hell no, Ross cried, wiping his eyes with his fist. I talk. Bust me with the pipe, but by God, you listen to the exhorter. Come in with us, man. We build a glorious movement of black people. Black people. What they do, give you money? Who want that damn stuff? Their money bleed black blood, man. It's unclean. Taking their money is shit, man. Money without dignity. That's bad shit. You know, Ross Exhorter reminds me of like Killmonger. Like, you know he's wrong, but he kind of right. Clifton lunged toward him. I held him, shaking my head. Come on, that man's crazy, I said, pulling on his arm. Ross struck his thighs with his fist. Me crazy, man? You call me crazy? Look at you too and look at me. Is this sanity? Standing here in 3 shades of blackness. 3 black men fighting in the street because of the white enslaver. Is that sanity? Is that consciousness? Scientific understanding? Is that the modern black man of the 20th century? Hell, man. Is it self-respect? Black against black? What they give you to betray? They're women? You fall for that? Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. Sorry, I need a... Sorry, man. Sorry, it's just killing me. These allergies, bruh. Oh, my God. Okay. Sorry. Anyway. Let's go, I said, listening and remembering and suddenly alive in the dark with the horror of the battle royale. But Clifton looked at Ross with a tight, fascinated expression, pulling away from me. Let's go, I repeated. He stood there looking. Sure, you go, Ross said, but not him. You contaminated, but he the real black man. In Africa, this man be a chief, a black king. Here they say he raped them goddamn women with no blood in their veins. I bet this man can't beat them off with a baseball bat. Shit, what kind of foolishness is it? Kick him ass from cradle to grave, then call him brother? Does it make mathematics? Is it logic? Look at him, man. Open your eyes, he said to me. I look like that I rock the blasted world. They know about me in Japan, India, all the colored countries. Youth, intelligence. This man... Youth, intelligence, the man's unnatural prince. Where is your eyes? Where your self-respect? Working for them damn people. Their days is numbered. The time is almost here, and you fooling around like this was the 19th century. I don't understand you. Am I ignorant? Answer me, man. All right. Shout out to Subtler Ring. Shout out to Subtle Ring up in the chat. I appreciate Subtle Ring joining the conversation. I appreciate that. Shout out to everybody joining the live stream. We're almost finished with chapter 17. Let's continue. Yes, Clifton burst out. Hell yes. You think I'm crazy? Is it because I speak bad English? Hell, it ain't my mama tongue. Man, I'm African. You really think I'm crazy? Yes, yes. You believe that, said Ross. What they do to you, black man? Give them stinking women? Clifton lunged again, and again I grabbed him, and again Ross held his ground, his head glowing red. Women, goddamn man, is that equality? Is that the black man's freedom? A pat on the back and a piece of cunt with no passion? Maggots, they buy you that blasted cheap, man. What they do to my people? Where is your brains? These women dregs, man. They bilge water. You know the high-class white man hates the black man. That's simple. So now he uses the dregs and wants you black young men to do his dirty works. They betray you and you betray the black people. They tricking you, man. Let them fight among themselves. Let them kill off one another. We organize. Organization is good, but we organize black. Black, to hell with that son of a bitch. He takes them strumpets and tell the black man his freedom lie between her skinny legs. While that son of a gun, he take all the power and the capital and don't leave the black man nothing. The good white woman, he tell the black man is a rapist and keep them locked up and ignorant while he makes the black man a race of bastards. Okay, that's crazy. That's crazy. When the black man going to tire of this childish perfidy, he got you so you don't trust your black intelligence. You young, don't play yourself so cheap, man. Don't deny yourself. It took 1 billion gallons of black blood to make you. Recognize yourself inside, and you want the kings among men. A man knows he's a man when he got nothing, when he's naked. Nobody have to tell him that. You 6 foot tall, man. You young and intelligent. You black and beautiful. Don't let them tell you different. You wasn't them things. You be dead, man. Dead. I'd have killed you, man. Ras the Exhorter raised up his knife and tried to do it, but he could not do it. Why don't you do it? I asked myself. I will do it now, I say, but something tell me no, no. You might be killing your black king. And I say, yes, yes. So I accept your humiliating action. Ras recognized your black possibilities, man. Ras would not sacrifice his black brother to the white enslaver. Instead, he cried. Ras is a man. No white man had to tell him that. And Ras cried. So why don't you recognize your black duty, man, and come join us? Wow, that's dope. That's absolutely dope. The thing about Ras, man, there's a lot of truth in what he's saying. Like, I think for us, like young black folks, like millennials and Gen X black folks, like the first time we were introduced to any sort of like, radical thought was through the type of crude black nationalism that Ross the Exhorter is talking about. Love your black brother. Let's organize as black folks all together now. You know what I mean? That's how they sort of flattened Malcolm X's ideology and the Black Panther ideology in the media. So that's how we, are first introduced to the idea like, yo, we have to make a change. And of course, things get more complicated the longer that you think about things, right? But when Ras is speaking, once again, it's like you're watching Black Panther and Killmonger comes on screen and you're like, he wrong, but he right, though. He's out of line, but he's kind of right. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. Oh, I apologize. I apologize to everybody. I apologize to everybody for my allergies. Sorry about that. But what do y'all think about Ras the Exhorter, the character? The wild black nationalist fighting toe-to-toe with these, scientific socialists that our main character is now tied up with. We only have 6 more pages to go until we're done with this book for today. Sorry it's taken so long. 6 more pages and then we're going to wrap things up. His chest was heaving, and a note of pleading had come into the harsh voice. He was an exhorter, all right, and I was caught in the crude, insane eloquence of his plea. He stood there, awaiting an answer, and suddenly a big transport plane came low over the buildings, and I looked up to see the firing of its engine, and we were all there, and we were all three silent, watching. Suddenly the exhorter shook his fist toward the plane and yelled, "Hell with him. Someday we'll have him too. Hell with him." He stood there shaking his fist as the plane rattled the buildings in its powerful flight. Then it was gone, and I looked about the unreal street. They were fighting far up the block in the dark now, and we were alone. I looked at the exhorter. I didn't know if I was angry or amazed. "Look," I said, shaking my head, "let's talk sense. From now on, we'll be on the street corners every night, and we'll be prepared for trouble. We don't want it, especially with you, but we won't run either." "God damn, man," he said, leaping forward. "This is Harlem. This is my territory, the black man's territory. You think we let white folks come in and spread their poison? Let them come in like they come and take over the numbers racket, like they have all the stories? Talk sense, man. If you're talking to Ross, talk sense." "This is sense," I said, "and you listen as we listen to you. We'll be out here every night, understand? We'll be out here, and next time you go after one of our brothers with a knife, I mean white or black, we won't forget it." He shook his head. "Nor will I forget you either, man. Don't. I don't want you to. I don't want you to, because if you forget, there'll be trouble. You're mistaken. Don't you see you're outnumbered? You need allies to win. That there is sense. Black allies, yellow and brown allies. All men who want a brotherly world," I said. "Don't be stupid, man. They white. They don't have to be allies with no black people. They get what they want. They turn against you. Where's your black intelligence?" "Thinking like that will get you lost in the backwash of history," I said. "Start thinking with your mind and not your emotions." He shook his head vehemently, looking at Clifton. "This black man talking to me about brains and thinking. I ask both of you, are you awake or sleeping? What is your past and where are you going? Never mind. Take your corrupt ideology and eat out your own guts like a laughing hyena. You are nowhere, man. Nowhere. Ross is not ignorant, nor is Ross afraid. No, Ross, he be here black and fighting for the liberty of the black people when the white folks have got what they want and done gone off laughing in your face and you stinking and choked up with white maggots." He spat angrily into the dark street. It flew pink in the red glow. "That'll be all right with me," I said. "Only remember what I said. Come on, Brother Clifton. This man's full of pus, black pus." We started away, a piece of glass crunching under my foot. "Maybe so," Raz said, "but I'm no fool. I'm no black educated fool who thinks everything between black man and white man can be settled with some blasted lies and some bloody books written by the white man in the first place. It's 300 years of black blood to build this white man's civilization, and you want be wiped out in a minute. Black blood calls for blood. You remember that. And remember that I am not like you. Ross recognizes the true issues, and he is not afraid to be black, nor is he a traitor for white men. Remember that. I am no black traitor to the black people for the white people." And before I could answer, Clifton spun in the dark, and there was a crack, and I saw Ras go down and Clifton breathing hard, and Ras lying there in the street, a thick black man with red tears on his face that caught the reflection of the checks cashed here sign. And again, as Clifton looked gravely down, he seemed to ask a silent question. "Let's go," I said. "Let's go." We started away as the screams of sirens sounded, Clifton cursing quietly to himself. Then we were out of the dark onto a busy street, and he turned to me. There were tears in his eyes. "That poor misguided son of a bitch," he said. "He thinks a lot of you too," I said. I was glad to be out of the dark and away from that exhorting voice. "The man's crazy," Clifton said. "It'll run you crazy if you let it." "Where'd he get that name?" I said. "He gave it to himself. I guess he did. Ras is a title of respect in the East. It's a wonder he didn't say something about Ethiopia stretching forth her wings, he said, mimicking Ras. He makes it sound like the hood of a cobra fluttering. I don't know. I don't know. Well, we'll have to watch him now, I said. Yes, we'd better, he said. He won't stop fighting, and thanks for getting rid of his knife. You didn't have to worry, I said. You didn't have to worry, I said. He wouldn't kill his king. He turned and looked at me as though he thought I might mean it. Then he smiled. For a while there, I thought I was gone, he said. As we headed for the district office, I wondered what Brother Jack would say about the fight. We'll have to overpower him with organization, I said. We'll do that, all right. But it's on the inside that Ross is strong, Clifton said. On the inside, he's dangerous. He won't get on the inside, I said. He'd consider himself a traitor. No, Clifton said. He won't get on the inside. Did you hear how he was talking? Did you hear what he was saying? I heard him, sure, I said. I don't know, he said. I suppose sometimes a man has to plunge outside history. What? Plunge outside, turn his back. Otherwise, he might kill somebody, go nuts. I didn't answer. Maybe he's right, I thought, and was suddenly very glad I had found the Brotherhood. Okay. Before the others arrived, and stood looking through the window of my office, past the jutting wall of a building, and on beyond the monstrous pattern. All right. Being more dangerous on the inside is an interesting touch, said James Wright, our new moderator. Absolutely true. Good point right there, James Wright. So continuing. The next morning, it rained, and I reached the district before the others arrived and stood looking through the window of my office, past the jutting wall of a building, and on beyond the monotonous pattern of its bricks and mortar. I saw a row of trees rising tall and graceful in the rain. One tree grew close by, and I could see the rain streaking its bark and its sticky buds. Trees were rowed the length of the long block beyond me, rising tall and dripping wetness above a series of cluttered backyards. And it occurred to me that cleared of its ramshackle fences and planted with flowers and grass, it might form a pleasant park. And just then, a paper bag sailed from a window to my left and burst like a silent grenade, scattering garbage into the trees and pancaking to earth with a soggy, exhausted plop. I started with disgust, then thought, the sun will shine in those backyards someday. A community cleanup campaign might be worthwhile for a slack season at that. Everything couldn't possibly be as exciting as last night. Turning back to my desk, I sat facing the map now as Brother Tarp appeared. Morning, son. I see you already on the job, he said. Good morning. I have so much to do that I thought I'd better get started early, I said. You'll do all right, he said, but I didn't come in here to take up your time. I want to put something on the wall. Go right ahead. Can I give you a hand? No, I can make it all right, he said, clambering with his lame leg upon a chair that sat beneath the map and hanging a frame from the ceiling molding, straightening it carefully and getting down to come over beside my desk. Son, you know who that is? Why, yes, I said, it's Frederick Douglass. Yes, sir, that's just who it is. You know much about him? Not much. My grandfather used to tell me about him, though. That's enough. He was a great man. You just take a look at him once in a while. You have everything you need. Paper and stuff like that? Yes, I have, Brother Tarp. And thanks for the portrait of Douglas. Don't thank me, son, he said from the door. He belongs to all of us. I sat now facing the portrait of Frederick Douglass, feeling a sudden piety, remembering and refusing to hear the echoes of my grandfather's voice. Then I picked up the telephone and began calling the community leaders. They fell in line like prisoners, preachers, politicians, various professionals, proving Clifton correct. The eviction fight was such a dramatic issue that most of the leaders feared that their followers would have rallied to us without them. I slighted no one, no matter how unimportant. Big shots, doctors, real estate men, and storefront preachers. And it went so fast and smoothly that it seemed not to happen to me, but to someone who actually bore my new name. I almost laughed into the phone when I heard the director of Men's House address me with profound respect. My new name was getting around. It's very strange, I thought, but things are so unreal for them normally that they believe that to call a thing by name is to make it so. And yet I am what they think I am. Our work went so well that a few Sundays later, we threw a parade that clinched our hold on the community. We worked feverishly, and now the clashing and conflict of my last days at Mary's seemed to have moved out into the struggles of the community, leaving me inwardly calm and controlled. Even the hustle and bustle of picketing and speech making seemed to stimulate me for the better. My wildest ideas paid off. Upon hearing that one of the unemployed brothers was an ex-drill master from Wichita, Kansas, I organized a drill team of six-footers whose duty it was to march through the streets, striking up sparks with their hobnailed shoes. On the day of the parade, they drew crowds faster than a dogfight on a country road. The People's Hot Foot Squad, we called them. And when they drilled fancy formations down 7th Avenue at springtime dusk, they set the streets ablaze. The community laughed and cheered, and the police were dumbfounded. But the sheer corn of it got them, and the Hot Foot Squad went shuffling along. Then came the flags and banners and the cards bearing slogans, and the squad of drum majorettes, the best looking girls we could find, who pranced and twirled and just plain girlied in the enthusiastic interest of brotherhood. We pulled 15,000 Harlemites into the street behind our slogans and marched on Broadway to City Hall. Indeed, we were the talk of the town. With this success, I was pushed forward at a dizzy pace. My name spread like smoke in an airless room. I was kept moving all over the place. Speeches here, there, everywhere, uptown and down. I wrote newspaper articles, led parades and relief delegations, and so on. And the Brotherhood was going out of its way to make my name prominent. And many mailings went out over my signature, some of which I'd written, but most not. I was publicized, identified with the organization, both by word and image in the press. On the way to work one late spring morning, I counted 50 greetings from people I didn't know, becoming aware that there were two of me, the old self that slept a few hours a night and dreamed sometimes of my grandfather in Bledsoe and Brockway and Mary, the self that flew without wings and plunged from great heights, and the new public self that spoke for the Brotherhood and was becoming so much more important than the other that I seemed to run a foot race against myself. Still, I liked my work during those days of certainty. I kept my eyes wide and ears alert. The Brotherhood was a world within a world, and I was determined to discover all its secrets and to advance as far as I could. I saw no limits. It was the one organization in the whole country in which I could reach the very top, and I meant to get there, even if it meant climbing a mountain of words. For now, I had begun to believe, despite all the talk of science around me, that there was a magic in spoken words. Sometimes I sat watching the watery play of light upon Douglas's portrait, thinking how magical it was that he had talked his way from slavery to a government ministry, and so swiftly. Perhaps, I thought, something of the kind is happening to me. Douglas came north to escape and find work in the shipyards, a big fellow in a sailor's suit who, like me, had taken another name. What had his true name been? Whatever it was as Douglas that he became himself, defined himself, and not as a boatwright as he'd expected, but as an orator. Perhaps the sense of magic lay in the unexpected transformations. You start, Saul, and end up Paul, my grandfather had often said. When you're a youngin', you Saul, but let life whip your head a bit and you start to trying to be Paul. Though you still Sauls around on the side. Okay. No, you could never tell where you were going. That was a sure thing, the only sure thing. Nor could you tell how you'd get there, though when you arrived, it was somehow right. For hadn't I started out with a speech, and hadn't it been a speech that won my scholarship to college, where I had expected speech making to win me a place with Bledsoe and launch me finally as a national leader? Well, I had made a speech, and it had made me a leader, only not the kind I had expected. So that was the way it was, and no complaints, I thought. Looking at the map, you started looking for red men, and you found them, even though a different tribe and in a bright new world. The world was strange if you stopped to think about it. Still, it was a world that could be controlled by science, and the Brotherhood had both science and history under control. Thus, for one lone stretch of time, I lived with the intensity displayed by those chronic number players who see clues to their fortune in the most minute phenomenon, in clouds, on passing trucks, in subway cars, in dreams, comic strips, the shape of a dog luck fouled on the pavements. I was dominated by the all-embracing idea of brotherhood. The organization had given the world a new shape and me a vital role. We recognized no loose ends. Everything could be controlled by our science. Life was all pattern and discipline. And the beauty of discipline is when it works, and it was working very well. And that is the end of chapter 17. So we finally made it to the end. It was quite a journey. We're going to have to chop up this video a lot. But I like that our main character now is finally like at the